All right. What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday, July 30th. It's the LAN Party Podcast. We're missing Tyler today because Tyler gave me worlds of shit last week for doing a Discord podcast, and he texted everybody today and said he wasn't going to make it. So make sure if anybody sees Tyler in the chat to give him loads of grief for not being here after giving everybody else loads of grief for not being here last week. We are here in person today. Everybody's here except Tyler, and everybody is looking at their phones as we usually do.
Yep.
Not really a whole lot to talk about, but I would like to those that have been watching the streams the past few nights, I really would like. So, your Challenger situation, like, has it just passed? Have they just accepted it?
I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I asked him if they were out of town. He was like, no, they know about it. I was like, and you're still alive?
Yeah, well, that's what I asked him.
Not homeless?
I asked him the other day, and I'm like, well, are your parents out of town again? He's like, no, they know about the car. And I'm like, did your rent go up? No. Did you get kicked out? No. Did she care? Yeah, she wasn't very happy.
I mean, obviously.
But, like...
But he is storing, one of the two at a storage unit, so it's not taking up driveway space.
No, and I mean, I don't know. I can't believe that just slid. If I would have hidden a car from my parents, Nate, I would have been living in that car when they found out.
They'd be like, oh, you got a storage unit? Well, put a bed in it, because that's where you're living now.
I can't believe that it just...
You don't understand how they figured out. How did they figure out?
I don't know.
You should ask them that one. So, I just, because it's been killing me, how did you know?
Did your brothers tell? I mean, did you accidentally leave it there too long and they drove by and saw it?
I have no idea. I don't know why you're asking me.
I suspect that your mom and your aunt and uncle pay more attention than you think.
Yeah, I mean... Because he actually had a pretty good system going of hiding it basically in another town.
Well, what I think helped alleviate... I mean, I don't know how mad she was. Like, I don't know if it was like a 30-minute screaming session or if it was just like a bad. Or if it was middle ground. But what I think might have alleviated some of that frustration is, A, you didn't lie. You weren't like, no, I don't have a Challenger. Must be somebody else with a red and black Ford Performance hat that lives in the neighborhood in this house. You've been able to afford it without her noticing as far as internet bills or rent payments or anything like that you pay. Your phone bills, like, you haven't slipped on anything.
You haven't ordered... I know how she did it. You haven't ordered any parts for the Focus.
I might have done it.
You haven't been buying stuff for the Focus, so she's like, something's up.
You should have started buying stuff for the Challenger. I have a feeling when you start buying stuff for the Challenger, she's going to get mad again.
Probably. Although she might be smart enough to notice, like, hey, these items are like 2 to 3 times bigger than what will go on a Focus.
No.
Possibly.
That's when you just use the excuse when you buy your brake rotors. Be like, well, my brakes are bad, so I have to do new brakes. Be like, well, my wheels are cracked and chipped and broken, so I gotta get new wheels. The tires that I have on it aren't very safe, so I have to get new tires.
Yeah, sure. Although, let's be fair, it's like, that thing is pretty damn noticeable. And
yes, it is. It's very noticeable.
And your driver's side window is not tinted.
No, it's tinted. It's just not tinted very much.
Compared to the other ones, it's not tinted.
It's factory tint.
That's just basically polarized.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much it stands out, though.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. I mean...
That's why everybody I showed pictures of that car to that I work with or something like that, and they're like, oh, that's a nice car. I'm like, yeah, he's putting it in a storage unit, hiding it from his parents, and they're like, yeah, he's not going to hide that forever.
Yeah.
It's hard to miss it. I mean...
Honestly, if it was just black, Nobody'd ever notice. It's just another Challenger. But you got the big ass yellow Hemi signs on
I
the
would
side.
notice because I don't see very many Challengers.
You're a car guy.
But
to the average Joe, it's another sports car.
And that's
if
why
it wasn't for the yellow.
I think that's one of the reasons that your parents found out, because while your mom may not care about cars or not notice cars, even non-car people notice that. Like, people that couldn't care less about cars are like, oh, wow, that's a very loud car. It's screaming at me.
Yeah.
Big yellow decals. Whoa, there's a car.
And, anybody driving past the highways, can see through the window and is like, huh, he's driving a Challenger with a Ford Performance hat. What the fuck? Or they see they may not be reading Ford Performance, they see the big Ford logo.
I'm surprised nobody said anything to me about that yet.
I'm not even going to lie to you. For your birthday, I thought about trying to find a black shirt with a yellow RT badge on it, but I couldn't find one. I found yellow with a black badge, but not vice versa. You got to get some RT wear. Mm-hmm. You can't keep driving around in a Ford hat.
You need to get him a Dodge hat so that he can keep in the Challenger. So when he goes in, he can just swap out hats.
He has a Ford Performance hat sitting on the dash facing out the window. That would probably make people more mad.
I'll have a Dodge hat for when I drive my Ford, and a Ford hat for when I drive my Dodge. That's how I'll do it.
Just piss off everybody.
Yeah, he'll probably forget.
It's like, it's a nice car you got there. Why you got a Ford Performance hat? Well, my race car is a Ford.
Your other race car is a
That's not
Ford.
your race car? No. What's your race car? A Focus? They'd be so confused.
I still think that the Challenger from light to light could probably beat the Focus.
I don't know.
I don't know. The
I
Focus
think so.
Is a fuck ton lighter.
Yeah, it might be light. I don't know what the factory weight is, but I compared my car to his car, and my car is heavier than a Challenger, and it wasn't that far off from factory.
How much did yours weigh?
From factory?
Yeah.
4,100 pounds.
So it's
4,200 pounds.
heavier.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight.
That is also for a full-sized 4-door wagon, not a 2-door sports car.
Yeah, and the little Focus is a 4-door hatchback that has been stripped.
The Hemi is also geared. You've commented on this. When the Hemi hits third, it takes off.
It depends on how far you're going, but the acceleration on the Focus is ridiculous.
I think the acceleration on the Challenger is good when you get out of first.
It's all right.
Well, when you get out of first and actually get into second and not go straight to fourth.
It kind of feels like when you're pushing something heavy and you start out slow and as you keep pushing, you can go faster and faster. In the Focus, you press the gas down, the wheels start spinning, it starts hopping, and it just fucking goes.
I don't think you've actually given the Challenger enough attention. You're going to have to, when you get it tuned, you're going to have to do pulls in it anyways.
Yeah.
Before you go and buy new tires, I would do the pulls in it on the tires you have now. That way, if you burn a little rubber, it's not going to hurt anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, depending on what he gets, it may affect the tune.
Your tires aren't going to affect your tune that much, are they? As long as you get the same size.
It's not size, it's like compound. How sticky are these?
Well, did they ask you that with the Focus tune?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. I mean, is it going to be that big of a difference? Probably not, but why the hell? If it's a few extra numbers, why the hell not?
Because you'll melt your other tires?
That'd be fine.
I'm not going to go spend $600 on tires that I'm going to melt like that.
Yeah, they asked me what kind of tires I had, and I said I got those Indy 500s. He's like, oh, those are good tires. He's like, I got them on my daily. I was like, yeah.
And be like, can I give you the tires that I'm going to get and then do my pulls? Because I plan on melting my tires in the pulls.
I don't think I have to worry about melting the tire doing a few pulls.
No, but before you get your new tires, you should definitely do a burnout. If there's ever a car that you've owned or will own that's burnout worthy, it is the Challenger.
Yeah.
You'll have to wash it afterwards and get all that rubber up on there, but If there was ever a car that you should be burning out in, it's the Challenger. Do donuts. Nate got found out. Who was just black? I've been not paying attention. Let you drive the Focus and him, or let you drive the Challenger. No.
He's a
The
bitch.
Focus would win every time because you suck at driving the Challenger, from what I've heard.
Who's that, Tyler?
Yes.
Okay.
You could. A freaking smart car could beat the Challenger if you're driving it. Don't try and snake your way into racing in the Challenger.
How bad was Tyler in the Challenger?
This is a little rough.
Okay, like rough.
The
ri-
pause is enough to tell you how little rough is.
Well-
I don't remember if he's. I think he might have stalled it once. I don't remember,
well,
but it was just real rough shifting, you know.
me driving it was a little rough because I hadn't driven a manual before that. In like
I would imagine it was
years.
probably more rough than you because the truck that you drove it didn't have any handicap systems. Neither does the Challenger.
yeah.
Now, while Tyler's Mazda may not have the same amount of handicaps, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, it's definitely going to have more than the Challenger, I think.
Yeah. To be fair, my truck, I could just throw it in gear and let off the clutch and it'd go.
Yeah, but like you didn't have any of the hill assist or the rev matching or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
you had a raw manual transmission. Like
I actually didn't have to. I
Out of
didn't
the
have
box.
to rev match in the truck. The Challenger, you have to. That threw me off.
but you don't have
I
your
think that's what was messing Tyler up.
the
is
Focus
rev
has
matching.
automatic rev matching, doesn't it?
It sorta.
Like it sort of does it on its own. Yeah, see.
It doesn't have rev matching. It what it has is whenever you push the clutch in, it keeps the RPMs up longer,
Okay.
so it makes it easier to shift.
Tyler says he did not stall it. I believe that it's a whole different beast, but if you expect to beat Nate, who's driven the Focus for several years now, in a Challenger that you can barely shift smooth,
The biggest difference would be the shifting. The Focus shifts a lot faster.
that's partially because of the modifications you've done to it, though. I imagine when you modify the Challenger shifters, you're probably going to
Yeah,
have a very
I hope
similar experience. That
'Cause
said,
you only
though,
got like a half inch of movement on the shifter to shift in the gear.
the Challenger's transmission is also located in a different spot too. So theoretically, you could actually potentially make the Challenger shift faster because isn't the transmission of the Focus in front of you?
But I don't know if that really has anything to do with it.
I mean, you've got more metal to move, more linkage to move. The transmission in the Challenger's right underneath the shifter.
Theoretically, you have to make that little stick move a shorter distance.
Right.
Not as easy as it sounds.
No, but I'm just saying, like, on the Focus, like, you're going to have rods that go from the shifter in the car to the transmission, whereas in a Challenger, where the transmission is right below the shifter, like, the shifter is part of the transmission.
Yeah.
Theoretically, it should shift faster stock to stock. Theoretically. Because there's less moving parts. There's less of a... It's kind of like drive shaft lag in an all-wheel drive car. You have more... It has to send power that way, and it has obstacles to go through. Whereas on a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive... Well, front-wheel drive, your power's right there. Doesn't have to send it down a drive shaft. If that makes any sense.
The lag on the drive shaft lag is because you add weight on the rotation.
Right,
Add
but
spinning weight.
it's still it's there because it's not connected directly to the wheels that are powering the car. Just like I feel like the transmission would shift quicker because you are directly connected to the transmission. You don't have a linkage that goes from the shifter to the transmission. If that makes sense. And maybe I'm misinterpreting or misunderstanding the anatomy of the Focus, but as far as I'm aware, if you were to take the floorboards out of the Challenger, your shifter would be coming out of the transmission, whereas in the Focus, it would not be.
Yeah. At most, there might be a link there to help it angle
Right.
because it's something weird to help it shorten it. Something weird is like on my truck, there was no link. It was directly into the transmission. That's why I had like a foot between gears.
Tyler says, I was struggling with rev matching, downshifting. I can shift relatively well up gears with a little practice. You're still not going to beat Nate. At least if you were to line the Challenger and the Focus up and you were driving the Challenger and Nate was driving the Focus, 10 times out of 10, Nate would win. The only perfect test we could get is if Nate could race himself.
Time attack.
Exactly. We'll have to do that. We'll have to do a time trial.
Oh yeah.
Sometime.
Just around the neighborhood.
Just around the neighborhood.
No, we need to get both of them to a track and see how it goes.
No, you can't take them to the track because the Challenger will suck on a track. Or are you talking about a drag strip?
Track with drag strip in it.
Yeah, because
all you need is a long ass straightaway.
The Focus will chew the Challenger up 10 times out of 10 on a track. The Challenger stands 0 chance on a track.
And I would be scared as fuck going around that Challenger on a track.
That's what I was about to say. I'd be getting to the turn like, nope, just slamming on the brakes, going 20.
Yeah. Now, if you had better seats, better suspension, yeah, maybe.
Really, yeah, the seats. You don't really think about that, but the seats in that are a big problem.
Yeah.
My biggest concern with it would be the suspension and the seats.
Yes.
I can handle sliding around in the seat a little bit, but if I'm whipping it around a turn and I'm doing this, like tilting.
Well, here's the funny thing: is like going around a corner in that thing's like your upper end stays up, but when your ass is going from door to console constantly,
How is that a problem in your car and not in mine?
I have no idea.
I have shallower seats than you do. Typically, when I turn, it's my torso's leaning out, not like I am still planted in my seat.
And you can confirm that's how it is.
And you have a sports car. I have effectively a sedan.
I mean, I don't really know.
I don't understand either. Yeah, because
but it's pretty bad.
When you're sitting in,
I'll be getting like on an on ramp, going like accelerating. I'm like, so.
Yeah, like I understand torso movement, but I don't
my
have.
whole butt slides across.
But yeah,
maybe
I don't.
My seats are just too slick.
Yeah, maybe your seats are too clean.
Maybe the dealership cleaned them too well.
Because I mean that happens in my car when I clean my seats.
That's probably what it is.
Because like I slide.
They need worn in a little bit.
I want to get bucket seats for it anyway. So.
It has bucket seats.
No, it doesn't.
It has bucket seats.
Better bucket seats.
There you go. That's what you should have said.
Bucket seats.
That's a better word for it. I would look,
Those
honestly.
Are bucket seats?
Those are bucket seats. Nate, there are buckets and benches. That's it. You have a bench goes all the way across.
To me, they look like a bench that's been separated. It's like they took half of a bench, just threw it.
You know what that's called? A bucket seat.
No, the bucket has like the
No.
walls on the side, doesn't it? Has
Bucket seats? No. Back in the 60s, bucket seats didn't have walls on them. They were like, they were literally a bench that was separated.
I thought it had just a little bit of a wall.
Not really.
No?
A bucket seat's just an individual seat. One seat. Not a bench.
Yeah.
I personally, and this is just because I'm more of a purist, but I would still look and see if you can find, before you go out and buy Momos or Sparkos or Recaros, see if you can find like an SRT seat. Because the SRT8s were full racing buckets. Like they had, very similar to the Recaro, where it came out over your rib cage too and up under your legs. They were full buckets.
Yeah, probably do Recaros.
No.
Yes.
You can get an
Those
SRT.
are good seats.
Yes. Remember
Maybe
when
I'll
you
take the seats out of focus.
remember when you had a discussion about trying to not spend an arm and a leg on the Challenger?
I'm not going to. I'm just going to do the basic stuff.
Recaro seats are $2,000.
Listen.
That's a seventh of what you paid for it.
That's where you sit the entire time you drive the car, though. If you're gonna spend a lot of money somewhere, it might as well be in the seat.
Even if you did just the driver's seat, honestly,
I wouldn't do just the driver's seat. That would look tacky. Look at this. Look at this. Dodge Challenger SRT8, front and rear buckets, $800.
What does it look like?
You know what? I'm not gonna show you it on my phone. I'll just send you the damn link.
Do they have one with yellow?
I don't know.
Need more sidewall support.
Messages.
Yeah, no, actually, if you could find seats that are like the Focus, I like those seats.
I like them too. They're awesome. People complain about those seats.
I I think they're comfortable.
I think it's because they're fat.
Maybe because
They're not. If you're just slightly overweight, it's a problem.
I don't know. I think they probably are just fat.
But yeah, SRT makes good seats. RT does not.
They would have to not be used.
Why?
Look at the condition on these; they're terrible.
They're not that bad.
I would not buy these.
Point is, you know what to look for.
Yes, Recaros.
No,
All right, now
SRT
onwards.
seats.
Now that we've gotten past that, we've decided on Recaros.
You have talked. He cannot keep a commitment to not spending a bunch of money.
What?
It's gonna start with Recaros, okay, and then the next thing you're gonna be is like, man, maybe I should just take all the interior out.
No, I'm not doing
I'm
that.
I'm gonna reduce the weight. You know what? I think I'm gonna make this a drag warrior. So I'm gonna put those Recaros. Now I'm gonna put a cage in it.
No.
Then yes, that's
See,
where it starts,
No,
Nate.
that's not where it's going.
See, I don't think he'll take the interior out, at least not the rear seats, because he doesn't have a big, rear door to take it all out of. He has to get it around the front seats and through the door.
My point is, you know how Nate is just as well as I do.
Yep.
It's gonna start with the seats, and then your original checklist is gonna get done, and you're gonna keep doing stuff.
No.
Yep.
No.
You don't need Recaros.
No, I don't. You're right, but I want them.
Look, you can get Challenger Hellcat seats. Of course, those are more expensive because they're the OEM ones, so don't look at those. You're spending more than you need to. Spending more than you need to. What you really need to do is get the wireless ignition module fixed.
Yes, I do.
And maybe your ABS too while you're at it.
We don't know what's wrong with his ABS yet. When we leave, remind me to open the garage and give you my code reader. So that way if the ABS light comes on the way to dinner, you can plug it in before you turn the car off and find out what the code is.
I know. Have you tried the simplest trick of just disconnecting the battery for a while?
No.
Well, the problem is we can't figure out what's wrong because the one time we brought a code reader with us, the light wouldn't come on.
Figures.
And it goes off when you turn the car off and it doesn't come back on immediately. So I'm going to send you with the code reader to Golden Corral and hope that the light comes on. And if it does, don't turn the car off when you get to Golden Corral. Plug the code reader in and see if you can pull the codes on it. Because it could be something minor. Like, oh, you need to fill brake fluid.
Yeah, or you need to go find this one plug, clean it off, and put it back in.
Or it could be, hey, your brake system's bad.
Yeah. Your master cylinder's going out because some idiot slammed on the brakes too many times.
What?
Actually, no, I would blame the previous owners.
Yeah, but you see, we went to the gas station the other night, and you see, he always talks about how bad the brakes are, but then he stomps on that little road out of the neighborhood. Not even Bennettsville, the road at the edge of the neighborhood. That he speeds up to that stop sign and he'll start braking real late, and I'm like, you've got a lot of faith in brakes that you claim are really bad.
Yeah.
One night I'm expecting us to just blast through that stop sign and go flying into the cornfield. The car will blend in too because corn's yellow and so is parts of the car.
Yep.
But yeah, you gotta get that figured out. But more importantly, well, I mean, that's more important. But second important thing is get your wireless thing fixed.
Because why not?
Yeah. I think my mom's having a similar problem in the van, too.
Well, the why not reason is what was
It's expensive.
$700.
Yeah.
That was the why not.
Oh, for the ignition. Oh, yeah, the ignition.
Just so I don't have to turn the key anymore.
Well, and your key fob is actually, like, valid.
Well, yeah. But,
The car does not really acknowledge that your key fob exists
I mean, it does for unlocking and locking the doors. So.
for now. I
I'll
will.
fix it eventually, but it's not a top
No,
priority.
I'm saying that I know when those systems, like I said, I think my mom's is going bad and
I
she's
think
having trouble.
suspension and tires and wheels are priority, and brakes.
I
No,
think brakes are
brakes.
the beginning priority.
Brakes, then wheels,
And tires.
suspension.
Figure out.
I would put it
Exhaust.
before suspension.
What? No.
The win.
No.
Yes.
No.
suspension. I would.
The
I would-
suspension in the car is just fine.
Mm,
The brakes I could get because your brakes suck. Your wheels are chipped and
it
torn
needs
up.
to be lowered.
Your tires suck. Those things I accept. But your suspension is not that bad.
Before you get the
If you
suspension
when you
fixed,
get aftermarket wheels and tires, you gotta lower it.
It has aftermarket wheels and tires.
Well, not to me.
I was gonna say before you get to the suspension and all that work, get that ABS light
Well,
fixed.
that's included in the brakes thing.
Yeah, I'll get around to that. Worst case scenario, it's ABS or traction control, and I don't need either. Or
Yeah.
stability
Yes,
control.
you do.
Yes, you do.
I spun. I didn't really spin them. I chirped tires in third gear.
You want traction control and stability control in a rear-wheel drive car, I promise.
That's when I thought I broke it.
Like, the Pontiac has gotten out from behind me because it doesn't have either of those systems, and it's a little scary when it does.
I've done a few 360s in my Jeep.
Yeah, you don't want to do that in the Challenger.
No, but I've learned my lesson. I did a 360 in front of Kroger's on my way home from work one day. That was kinda
Yeah, you
scary.
need to keep stability control and traction control on. I've actually, I have a button to push in my car that I can disable, all the handicaps and essentially race it or drive it in sport mode, but I won't push the button.
Also spun the Jeep on the way to Borden because somebody literally stopped in the highway, in between two guardrails, stopped there, and I wasn't expecting it. So I came around the corner and I was slammed on the brakes, and the back end kicked out, and I spun.
How did you not flip?
I don't know.
Because it was so wide.
Duh, but it's top heavy.
It is.
Jeeps are top
I
heavy.
have to say that's probably luck.
I was gonna say
Actually, I think it's more because I got slowed down enough that when I started spinning,
Because-
it didn't really matter.
while it may be wide, it was also sitting higher off the ground than a normal Jeep would by a pretty acknowledgeable margin.
Yeah.
And with your Jeep should react just like the Jeeps in Space Engineers when you slam the brakes and turn. Flip.
Well, I didn't turn. What happened was I slammed the brakes and I got down to I wasn't going very fast when it started spinning, so I was pissed though. I don't know why they just stopped in the middle of the road right there, the highway,
I had
between two guardrails.
I had the back end of the Pontiac come out a while when we were still in high school, actually. On my way to school one morning, we had a 2-hour delay because of snow or ice or something, and it had mostly melted, but there was some slush on the road getting out of Bennettsville onto 60, and that's a hill, so I had to kind of give it a little bit of gas, and I gave it gas, and it gripped until I hit the turn, and then it went whoop, and it got a little out from underneath me, and I corrected it, and it snapped back in, but I'm my eyes were huge, and my heart was just... I'm like, this is the end. This is what death looks like.
You gotta be careful. Highway 60 is no joke.
No, it's not. Especially that section of Highway 60. People get in collisions there all the time. No, I don't trust Highway 60.
I have a very thought out plan for the Challenger though, of exactly what I'm gonna do. So there's no risk of me going over it unless it's by something small.
So when are you going to start your plan?
I don't know. Next year maybe.
He needs a house first.
Next year. You're going to wait a whole whopping year to get tires and wheels.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I just get it all at once when I get my profit sharing check.
That's not the way to do things.
Like I said, it's he needs a house first.
Yeah, I need to start looking for a place to.
Actually dig down and look for one.
Well, you see, I've tried. We found that really nice house in Sellersburg, and I'm like, hey, did you talk to that person? No. Hey, did you talk to that person? Nope. Hey, did you talk to that person? Nope.
Okay, to be fair, I did email him.
What about in Jeff? The one in Jeff.
He probably hasn't talked to that
It's not-
person.
I have called them and I've talked to him. I gave him my name. It's not available yet. They said when it became available, they'd call me.
I still haven't seen this house. There's a house for sale in Borden that's really nice, but it's way out of your price range.
Yeah, no.
It's got
All
a
the houses here
have
are
you seen
in
it?
this range.
It's got a 10-car garage, 2 bedrooms,
Here in
238,000.
what? Where?
Borden,
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah.
I mean, hell, I didn't.
10-car garage.
I didn't tell you about this. A guy I work with is selling his house and land up in Henryville. He's got 16 acres, a pole barn, and a 2-car garage house for $300,000.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's still out of his price range.
I know.
I thought about building a pole barn over at on my grandma's property in Pekin.
No, because then we'd have to drive all the way to Pekin if we want to have our stuff worked on. We like having the local shop right down the road.
You
Yeah,
guys
so-
got your own garages?
No, I don't.
No, I don't. I got a fucking boat in mine. I got 2 fucking boats in mine.
Well,
I have a bucket of bolts
Well,
and a bunch
try.
of stuff stacked on the bucket of bolts.
maybe you and your dad can split the payment on like a storage unit. Keep the boat at.
God, no. We're trying to get rid of the small boat.
You have 2 boats?
We have the big aluminum boat, and then we have a smaller plastic Pelican boat.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember.
It's a little 2-seater.
Yeah.
Fits in the back of a truck.
No, I don't want to drive all the way to Pekin to do service on my cars. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. You're not allowed to do that, Nate.
What?
You can't. You're not allowed to build a pole barn on that property.
I mean, at best, is like
nice property though.
Oh, it is.
They have a great view every morning.
But I'd have to drive out there all the time
Away
to work
from
on my
people.
car. And that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, the closest I go is Borden once a week, and I don't. Yeah.
Now, hold the phone. This just dawned on me. Why is the house that's for rent in Jeff listed if it's not available?
It's not available yet. It's going to be available.
Why is it listed?
Oh, they're probably listing it early to get inquiries about it, because you never know with the housing market. It may.
Well, he knows with the housing market that nothing stays on the market.
Yeah.
It's a little different for rentals though, because they're so expensive.
Yeah, and it may be one of those things is like, okay, they're moving out, they're listing it now so that when they do get moved out, they can get somebody in there.
Truthfully, the cost of a rental is really not that expensive. The only difference is you're making the payments on a house you don't own. Like, your monthly payments will probably be about the same on an equally sized house or more if you owned it. Like, if you bought, that's a 4-bedroom, 2-car garage, driveway.
If you bought it with the normal 20% down, your payment would be much cheaper. I swear to God.
How much is the monthly payment total?
It's $1,400.
Now,
does that include utilities?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking at a mortgage for him probably about $600-700. Yes.
the house in Scottsburg was smaller, and he was getting quoted
I
$980.
wasn't putting 20% down.
Yeah.
Then why are you not looking at different houses?
What do you mean?
That house is more expensive than any house you've looked at.
The rental house?
Yes.
Because there's not very many 4-bedroom houses.
And then you're looking at probably $300-400 in utilities.
The $1,400, does that not include into utilities?
No.
$300 to $400 seems a little steep for utilities.
I always go on like,
Depends on the size of the house.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think our water bill here is but $170 a month.
I always average it out. It's like,
$170 a month.
Maybe. I don't know. I've only seen the water bill like
I think
twice.
ours is like $40 a month.
Maybe that's it
My
then.
house.
It's maybe it's
electric bill-
70.
The electric bill is the biggest one.
yeah. It's like you're looking at. I always average it out to maybe about 100 for water. It is Jeff. I don't know what their water rates are. 200 for electric, and if you have gas, add on another 50.
I feel
And
like
you
if
gotta pay
every
for
house
trash.
around here was $1,100 a month with utilities, nobody would live at home. That's why I feel like that's a little hard to believe. That's a 4-bedroom house. You're telling me that I could go and buy a 2-bedroom house and probably pay $300 a month? I don't believe you.
2-bedroom house?
Don't believe that.
Also depends on how much land If you're sitting on maybe an eighth of an acre, and you've got 200 in utilities, yeah.
There's a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house in Charlestown. I was thinking about getting. My monthly payment was going to be about $200.
I find that astoundingly hard to believe.
It all depends on
Everybody would own a house then.
The problem is they don't build those houses.
There's a lot of problems. You have to have credit to buy a house.
Yep.
You have to have a good job.
Yep.
You have to be good with your money.
Part of the credit thing.
Yeah. And also, it's a commitment. When you buy a house, you're committed. You can't just
get that.
move willy-nilly.
Yeah, this isn't like a 10-year car. This isn't like a 6-year car loan. This is
I
like
understand
a
that.
30-year mortgage.
I understand that. I'm not stupid, but I have all of those things. I could have a better job, but my job's pretty good. I have a good credit score. I make all my payments on time without problem, and I'm pretty financially responsible. I could not get a 2-bedroom house or a 1-bedroom house for $200 a month. Would never happen.
Depends on how much you save up.
It would never happen. I just highly doubt that. I couldn't put 20 down. I couldn't put 20% down. I would have to save my paychecks for 3 years.
And some people do that.
I don't work at Ford. Otherwise, I would have moved out ages ago if I could make a $200 a month payment, because my parents were charging me before I went to school $300 a month in rent.
Well, it's not including utilities and stuff.
My point is, if my rent payment was $200 and I've only got to use utilities for one person, for $100 more, give or take, I could live on my own. So I said, man, I find that hard to believe. But, I mean, you do you. The only reason I recommended a rental house is because you want out and you can't find a house.
Yeah. And there are benefits to owning a rental. It's like, if something breaks,
Renter's insurance.
or your landlord fixes it.
Right. Hopefully.
Renter's insurance is if you break something, I think.
Yeah, but still. Regardless, you get
But,
both
like,
of those
if the air
things.
conditioning goes out, I can't even. That's like super expensive.
That
What is it?
depends.
Like
Depends.
4,000 plus.
Depends on what it is.
It also depends on who your home fix people are. We have American Home Shield. All we pay is a service fee. We pay
when you replace your AC unit.
we pay every month. I don't know how much it costs a month. I think it's like $60 a month.
I thought it was typical that you had to buy the thing for like $5,000, and you had to pay $4,000 or $5,000 to install it.
We had our air conditioning unit replaced a couple years ago. Cost us like $180.
That's ridiculous.
It's not that bad. If you just replace like the furnace unit that like down in your
Because
basement,
I had to help my mom pay for the last AC unit we bought because it was so much money.
it's about $2,800 for the interior unit.
Yeah,
The one outside.
The one outside's about $1,500.
we
you
had
had to
that whole unit replaced, the whole outside unit, but
I didn't know it was that cheap.
well,
we got
it's-
a used one for $4,000.
it's not. Well, you're talking about what he was saying. American Home Shield, I think that's who we use. I don't remember, but essentially all we do is we pay in every month or every year, and all we have to do when something goes out is we have to pay the service fee to have somebody come out and look at it and or fix it.
Yeah, and you're also looking at labor. Labor is like 2 to 3 times the cost of the item.
Because, for instance, our refrigerator just went out. Or not just went out, but the one in the garage had been out for ages, and we just got it fixed. But American Home Shield's like, okay, so they have like a threshold, and if the price of the fix is cheaper than getting a new item, they'll just replace the item. So like if fixing our refrigerator would have cost more than the fridge value, they would have just offered to buy a new refrigerator. Like I said, I don't know all the details, and I don't know how much it costs a month, but it's saved our skins loads of times. Like I said, it was like $180, and we got a whole new air conditioning unit outside.
Yeah.
Brand new. 100%. Because we kept having problems with it, and the guy finally was just like, yeah, you know what? Just get a new one.
Yeah, and that's especially in places like this.
Oh, the
where-
neighborhood has terrible AC units.
because these houses were built on the cheap.
Yep.
If you'd ever seen the contractor that did this, the Sprigglers, yeah, they'll fuck you over in a heartbeat.
Yeah, these houses were not built with good AC units, so
They weren't really built with good anythings. Like they got these houses got 2 code, and that was like it.
But yeah, I mean the reason I recommended a rental is because you want out. You have people that are willing to pitch in rent, which is going to bring your rent payment down to less than a house payment. So,
And my offer still stands to pay for internet.
my offer still stands to pay for rent.
We'll have to get together sometime just look at some rental houses.
Not a problem. But that's the only reason I said that is because you want out, we all want out, but there's no houses on the market that you're happy with. That's why I recommended that.
Okay, I suppose. I mean, right now I'm thinking either get a rental or build a pole barn over at my grandma's house, because that's pretty much what I want is a pole barn. I just want a garage. That's all I want.
I would get the rental. Because for the pole barn, you're going to have to wait for it to be built. Then you're still going to have to pay for it. Probably. I would imagine you have to insure it somehow. Now, granted, pole barns are not that expensive to insure, but you're still going to have to wait for it to be built. You're going to live further away from work than you would if you got the rental house. By a pretty noticeable margin.
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes to Pekin from here.
Something like that, yeah.
20, yeah. I don't know. I only actually been
It's
out.
about an hour drive to work.
Yeah, I only been out to
I
Pekin
wo- 'cause
once.
somebody on my line lives in Pekin.
Oh my god, I'll be right back.
All right.
Or not.
Or not.
Is your boss?
No, it's my brother.
Why is he calling you?
I don't know.
If it was my brother, I'd just ignore it.
What I suspect happened is, I don't know. He said didn't mean to call. I find that hard to believe. I don't know.
If you ever want to go look at houses, just let me know. We'll go.
I definitely, if you find one though with a hot tub,
Oh my god. Really?
Priorities is like a 2-car garage. Let's start with
well, yeah,
that.
2-car garage and a driveway.
That's hard enough to find as it is.
No, that's not hard enough to find in the rental market. That's where he struggles in the house buying market.
Yeah. And you also got to find people and neighborhoods that are okay with like 6 vehicles.
5.
5?
No,
6. Yeah, you're right.
I'm counting.
I forgot he had 2.
2, 3, 5.
Yeah, because I'm counting.
It depends. Who are we including?
You, me, Nick, and Tyler. Those
So that'd
4.
be
6
1,
cars.
2, 3.
Nick was right the
4,
first time.
5, 6.
Why are you thinking so hard after 6?
What about your
I'm
your
not
Bel
counting.
Air? Are you ever getting that?
I mean, yeah, probably, but I don't know when.
Yeah, I'm not counting either the Tempest or your other car.
Where are you getting 6 cars?
His 2, and then wait, that would be
That would be
6.
5.
That okay? It counted.
So if you count the Tempest, it's 6, right?
I was counting the Tempest. Yes,
Yeah.
6. I was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not counting the other one.
The 57, yeah. I don't imagine I mean, if we found a house that had like a 3-car garage, then I would see if I could bring it down here, but I'm not.
Yeah, but let's face it. You're gonna have a house, and you're gonna have at least 4 cars in a driveway.
And I mean, I'd imagine the Pontiac will probably have to go into the garage just because if not, you'd have to play musical cars getting out. But
And you also got watch about where you rent stuff at homeowners association. They may not
Yeah.
allow you to have your Tempest in the
Well,
driveway.
it won't be in the driveway.
Yeah. And they may not allow you to have 4 cars in the driveway.
Well, they can kiss my ass.
Yeah.
Ow. I think the thing that you need to be more careful about is whether or not the people are going to appreciate loud engines in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Nah, well, they can get over that.
Because when the Pontiac's done being fixed, it's going to be noisy. The Magnum's noisy. The Challenger's noisy. The Focus is noisy.
Challenger's not that bad, though.
Mine's annoying.
You're going to make it noisy.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, don't even deny that. Don't even try
It'll
to.
be a good noisy.
I'm not saying any of the
Somebody
cars that we have are
complains they're
bad noisy.
communist.
All of the cars that we're talking about are good noisy, but
Well, Focus is loudest.
only when it pops.
It's honestly not that bad.
Oh, it is when it pops.
Well, compared to some of the
He
other...
hasn't rode in it since.
Oh.
Yeah, I have.
Since that.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
You've heard the.
Yeah.
When was that?
You got it tuned before you got the Challenger, right?
Yeah,
When-
you did get it tuned
Yeah, I
before you
guess
got the
so.
When I
Challenger.
followed you to the storage unit, and when you drove back, I rode in the Focus. I think I
Alright,
rode it
yeah,
before,
yeah.
sometime after. No, yeah, I've heard it.
It's louder than it sounds.
Yeah.
It was loud enough one morning that it
louder than
woke
sounds.
in the inside.
Oh,
It
yeah.
woke me up one morning, and I knew exactly what it was because I heard it. Like, I woke up and I heard brrr, pop, 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 pop. And I'm like, well, there goes Nate.
Yeah, like, I'll hear him drive past my house occasionally, but so compared to some of the other cars in the neighborhood, it's not that bad.
Well, no, like, the idle sound is quiet. It's just when he gets up to the high RPMs and he shifts and it does the pops and crackles, that's when it gets loud.
yeah, but generally in, like, a neighborhood, you're what, going to, like, second gear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know him, though. He milks that sound for everything it's worth.
But if he's getting up at 4 in the morning, I expect he'd be just a little bit quieter. Otherwise, he'd probably wake me up. I'm already up.
You don't care, do you? He doesn't care. He doesn't care about it. Anybody. We went to the gas station one night at 2 in the morning, and we went down Bennettsville Road, and he was intentionally hovering at just the right RPM so that every time he let off the gas, it sounded like gunfire. It'd be like, you're probably waking all these people up, and he just looked at me and went, yeah.
Well, I don't do it in the neighborhood, though, because it's different. Because they know exactly where I live.
Yeah, they know which car is yours. And you see out here, if anybody called the cops, like, yeah, you could make it to the gas station and back before the county got out here. Out there in Jeff, if somebody heard that, you got paranoid as fuck people that may think you actually have gunfire.
The trouble is, even if people did call the cops, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure, you could probably make it to the gas station and back, but it's not like, yeah. Truthfully, people are probably not going to call the cops about it. They're probably just going to post on their little Facebook page for the subdivision that somebody's driving around with a really annoying loud car.
I remember my mom told me that somebody posted on there about people revving.
My mom told me about that too. Because she looked at me, she's like, was that you? And I'm like, when do I rev my car?
But I've never heard personally anybody revving. So I don't know
Tucker.
what they're talking. Well, he's not revving. That's just his car. It's just loud.
No, I've heard him rev before.
Oh, I haven't.
We were down there. Matter of fact, I think we were working on my exhaust one day, and he was down there. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it may be, there's a guy right over there, he's got a blue Camaro. It's got an
Him?
exhaust kit
Yeah,
on
I
it.
know who you're talking about.
That thing is loud as fuck.
Yeah, but he doesn't rev it. He just drives it.
No.
What I think happened is the person on Facebook was clueless
Now,
and just wanted to complain about it, and so they just put the first word that came to mind.
we have revved it before when we were, when we first got the kits installed. But
I usually rev mine after I either tune it or do something on the exhaust or intake.
which is very
But the
often.
post, and I'm not part of that group because,
I don't
I don't
rev
like-
it like it in the middle of the night or anything like that.
but yeah, some lady, I guess, posted, and she's like, really? You guys started revving your engines for 2 hours at like 6:30? And I'm like, what? No?
6:30
PM.
PM?
Yeah, she I don't know, she was talking some ridiculous stuff.
I was going to think, like, have we worked on a car? It's like, we got pretty late one time, but I don't think,
Well, regardless, we've never revved our engines for 2 hours.
yeah.
I rev my engine for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was trying to think, it's like, no, yours took longer than that. Mine got done right about that time, but it's not that loud. But you wouldn't rev viewers for 2 hours, so I don't know what the fuck she's talking about.
No, it was probably somebody revving for like 10 minutes. Still not one of us, and she went, 2 hours, that's too much.
Yeah.
This is the same neighborhood that people whined and bitched about fireworks going off on the 4th of July. They're like, some of us have to get up and go to work tomorrow. Be like, okay.
Sucks you work for a communist company.
Well, I'm going to tell you how many times fireworks have kept me from going to sleep at night. 0.
Yeah, I've never had problems with that.
Even on a holiday, there is actually noise ordinance. It's just like an hour or two later than normal.
There was people doing fireworks at 10:30 at night.
Yeah, it's
on the 4th of July.
Yeah, on a holiday, the noise ordinance is like midnight.
So those people that have to get like a full 10 hours of sleep.
Cool. Go to sleep. If you can't sleep through thunder, or if you can't sleep through fireworks, what are you gonna whine at Mother Nature when she throws a thunderstorm your way? Mother Nature, I have to work tomorrow.
Generally, yeah, those are the people that they're like, God damn it, it's a fucking thunderstorm. It's like, yeah, get over it.
Like, God, just some of the people that live in our neighborhood, they think that this is like covered bridge, so that they think they're entitled to these super special rules and regulations on the subdivision, and it annoys the living crap out of me.
Yeah, that would be my only worry about getting a rental is like you get those busybodies that have to be in your business.
My dad, he lives at Cover Bridge now.
Yeah.
His neighbors are those people who are really picky about their grass, and they get really upset if their dog runs over there in their yard, or if their sprinkler system sprays in their grass, or anything like that, and they don't ever go outside.
I hate rich people. I despise rich people. For that reason exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. My dog walked on your grass.
There's a
Whatever will we do?
Right there. Yeah.
Oh, I got an idea. Can't tell anymore.
Yeah. That's why I'm so glad in summer my grass turns brown and stops growing, because I don't have to mow the damn thing. I haven't mowed my grass in like 3 weeks. It's been great.
Yeah.
Your neighbors probably don't like it. It makes the subdivision look terrible.
I don't care. And my thing about, I don't like watering grass because it's waste, because it grows back.
A lot of people would take this as a silly question, but I mean, like, honestly, why do we even have grass anymore? Like,
What do you
why
mean?
not have some sort of replacement or some sort of like genetically modified grass so it doesn't grow beyond a certain height, or
I feel like that's
fake grass or something?
That's a big question they've been asking in Vegas, where they've built subdivisions where they don't have grass anymore. They have like rocks.
Like rocks or mulch or something. Like,
Well,
Because
maybe you're not used to it. It might not be pretty, but eventually you get used to it.
yeah, because the city got tired of people wasting so much fucking water over the summer on watering. First off, a plant that should not be in the middle of a goddamn desert.
just make waterproof waterproof AstroTurf. There you
Yeah.
go. That's the solution to your
AstroTurf.
problem.
It's real similar. I mean, they have stuff like, as long as it's sun resistant, they don't get much rain. So
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is AstroTurf, since it's not grass, it doesn't need the sun to grow, and it doesn't grow. It doesn't need the sun.
we've got some
But it
we got some pretty fancy AstroTurf you can order from work that looks and feels like grass.
but it can't probably get wet. It's probably not supposed to get wet.
Oh yeah, it's outdoor.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Why don't people get houses made with AstroTurf?
Yeah.
Probably
I feel
because
like
it's
in a
expensive.
subdivision, that'd be perfect. Like, if you live out in the country, obviously that's not.
Yeah,
no,
not
that one's not gonna
feasible.
work. But like in a subdivision, like, why not?
Never have to cut your grass again.
Nobody has to worry about their grass dying and devaluing the property.
You don't have to worry about watering it. What's chat saying?
Let's see. Maybe that was when you replaced your exhaust. It wasn't. Thor's being too loud. You should fine him. Don't get that. Grass also helps the dirt so it doesn't dust out. Also improves air quality. No, it makes air quality worse. Have you ever noticed when people cut the grass, you freaking sneeze up a storm?
Yeah, really. In terms of like Oxford
Well, we're talking
producing,
about small scale though, like just in a subdivision.
Yes, it holds the dirt down. Great. A lot of plants do that. But in terms of producing oxygen, like most plants do, grass is
Does
actually
not hold it down.
it can. Grass is actually pretty shitty about it. It's not the greatest.
You wouldn't have weeds. Oh my God, you wouldn't have weeds.
Hell, 30%, like 50% of my grass, my yard is clover. I don't even care. It's green. What the fuck ever.
If you really wanted to, I guess you can make take the blades off your lawnmower so you can still get that feeling.
Actually, don't.
Morning, Jim.
Don't ever run a lawnmower without blades. Because the blades
Probably vibrate you to death. You'll just be sitting there going.
Now I want to do it even more.
Yeah, because we were fixing my lawnmower once. We took the blades off because we were sharpening them. It was like, all right, start it up. It's like, it was bad because the blades also slow it down.
I'm just trying to
You
imagine
just made
like.
me want to do it more.
I'm just trying to imagine that typical like suburban life scene where you've got this really nice neighborhood and you got your dudes waving to each other when they're cutting the grass, except instead the dude's sitting on his riding lawnmower like, "Hey, Jim!"
You got the guy at the push mower. Oh man.
Riding mowers aren't too bad because you can turn the blades off.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Push mower is like, no, it was like they're
You just
weighed
got a
down
bunch
by.
of people at push mower. It's a lovely day.
They let go and their arms are still just like.
Everybody in the neighborhood's got like the shakes.
It's just like they're just sitting out there like it's like a hot summer day and they're just mowing the AstroTurf just because it looks good and
Maybe
they're
it's like a vacuum cleaner.
yeah.
You vacuum your.
And then they're sitting there
AstroTurf.
drinking. They're drinking that, out of this nice, pretty clear glass with half of it is ice and the other half is fresh squeezed lemonade, and it's got, a lemon slice on top, and he's just sitting there, dumps it on all over his clothes. Oh darn!
It's like that one time we were in the Razor and I was drinking lemonade. Remember that?
Yep. It ended up on you.
Yep.
Tyler says air quality is in carbon reduction in the neighborhood. Okay, well, when you've got people like me, Nate, and Nick living in the neighborhood, carbon reduction is not going to happen.
Yeah.
We contribute to more carbon than the grass is going to help with.
If all the non-car people got electric cars, we wouldn't be that big of a problem.
Yeah, there are.
No, if all the non-car people got electric cars, we would be the problem.
Well, we would be a problem. Yes, you're right, but
We'd be a bigger problem.
you see what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah. In terms of carbon reduction for grass, there are much better grasses and other plants to use.
Yeah. I vote AstroTurf. We need to sign a petition. We need to start a petition for the subdivision to get replaced with AstroTurf. I demand it.
Yep.
Oh, I bet that would be terrible though when we had those rainstorms, especially in like my backyard where all that water slides down in puddles in the back.
It'd float.
The AstroTurf would?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you
grass.
like nail it down, yeah, it'd float.
You can't put like some kind of like mesh so the water just goes straight through it.
It would. Yeah, I mean, it would. Cause
Yeah, but then it's going to flood the ground underneath.
AstroTurf's mostly
Well, the
plastic.
ground's gonna flood either way.
Yeah, but unlike AstroTurf, my yard won't float.
We'll figure. We'll do some research. All right, we'll do some R&D. We'll get this going. We got like some kind of like AstroTurf anchor or something. To
Yeah.
keep it anchored.
Yeah, they do. They're nails. They're like
No, like some like bigger, better.
they're like a foot long. You just hit them into the ground.
What about 3 feet, Nick? Let's go all out.
We get some bad rain.
I mean,
We do.
yes, but then you're gonna have to make the head of the nail like a foot wide.
That's why I'm saying when you do some R&D, we'll figure it out.
Well, we'll get on the R&D thing, but it's going to happen after we go get food. So we're going to wrap up the podcast. We still have not decided what we're playing tonight. It will probably be Space Engineers or Sea of Thieves, one of the two, unless we get some itch to play
What about
something we
Moss?
haven't.
I'm sorry.
Just out of nowhere, somebody's be like, "What is that game?"
Like
I've
some
never.
kind of moss, like instead of grass. I'm sorry. Continue.
So anyways, check back around, I don't know, 8-ish, 7, between 7 and 8, somewhere around there. Hopefully we'll be live by then. If not, just periodically check around. We should be live tonight. So thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you all later. Also, I will go ahead and announce it now. We will have a guest next week on the podcast. Grogda, the bearded lady, otherwise known as Jared, will be in town next week, and he will likely be joining us on the podcast. If he doesn't, I'll be mad because he's staying here. So,
he'll be taking my spot because I'll be out of town.
Oh, perfect. I was actually going to have to, I was worried about having to figure out stuff. So yes, Nick won't be here next week. He will be replaced by Jared. So, should be a good time. So, come hang out with us then. Come hang out with us tonight, and we will see you all later.